My name's Kevin Hicks. Welcome to the History Squad. Now, today's video has been requested by you, the viewers. Kevin's made a model, but how does he make a model? So I'm not due to make one for 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm going to collapse the model here of the Siege of Rouen. So what I thought I'd do is show you how I build a model, but in reverse. We're going to strip it down piece by piece, and I'll show you just how it's done. So one of the problems I have is the planning, and for the Siege of Rouen there was just one drawing basically from just after the whole business, so it gave me an idea of what I should be looking at. First of all, we have the camp, and what I like to do is put a little bit of detail in the camp. I have here they're burying some of the dead that have died that day. Maybe it was dysentery, maybe it was enemy combat, I don't know. But I like to put in those tiny little details. And it's important that when you're going to dig down, you're going to make a ditch, that you make sure that your surface is actually styrofoam, as they call it over here, so that you can actually dig down into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move some of the buildings ready to put away. And that's an important thing. Every single piece that I have either has a box or a shelf to go on, so I can reuse it. Actually, before I put them away, let me just show you. These huts are actually, some of it is MDF and the others are laser printed. And I've had these for quite some years now, and they keep changing. I think they began life as early medieval, and I wanted to improve the roof, so they became thatched. And now they're part of the huts for Henry V's army during winter time. But as long as I keep them in their box, put them on the shelf in the right place, they are safe. They might not be used for every model, but it's important that I know where everything is. Now, if you look, I've got all of these. Some of these are Perry Miniatures, others I got from my local store, Dragon's Den. All of these siege engines, in fact, I got from WizKids, I think they're known as. So I'm just going to lift a few of these tents, put them in the tent box, and we'll go through all of the people and the little bits that make up the camp. If you look at the detail in these tents, it's quite lovely, especially if you paint them with a wash afterwards to weather them. And they blend in, they fit in absolutely perfectly. And once again, make sure it has its own place to go. I'm going to get some more of these pavilions. I really do like them. Last little piece. So now I've got all of the tentage, all in its boxes, no problems at all. I can put that away. The one thing I really do like is some of the tiny detail. I know these are only temporary models, but they're like sleeping bags or, you know, beds inside some of the tents. The bowls of pottage and stuff being cooked. And then the wagon loaded up with goods nearby, the wagon park. It's all important to give the idea that it wasn't just about fighting. These men were here now. Well, in fact, they were here for months. So I'm going to collapse the wagons, put them in their special container. So these containers are great. I got these from the dollar store. They are perfect. They're hard plastic, and this is the one I use to keep all of the wagons and all of the camp equipment in. So I shall put the wagons away. All of the detail that goes with these is all stored in this container. And what I know is that once it's all put away, it's safe on its shelf, so it won't get broken. And that's one of the problems in the past. So the wagons are in. I'll get the little bits of camp paraphernalia because they go just here. And I've still got the latrines that I made for a previous video, but it didn't fit in this one. You clear the ground, make sure all those camp things are going into the right place. Deprive the monk of his wine now. The sleeping bags will come away. Now, once I've cleared the camp area, we'll move up onto the second line of defense. It's the tiny little details that I love. You look at this little wagon here. it's still got a load, but there's a little boy sat watching all of the proceedings. So it's not just the military, but also when you're packing up, make sure that you do remember to dig anybody up that you've actually buried. So this is the second line of defence. What I took from the drawing of the Siege of Rouen is, yes, you had your forward defences, but there were also defences set back. So what I've got is bowmen here who are halfway through drawing or drawing their bows, shooting at the enemy who are attacking. And once again, you know, the little bits of detail. I've got a chap here who's leading another wounded chap back. So maybe it's a squire with a knight, or just your buddies helping you back. And I love these characters here. Well, how many arrows have they shot today? How many arrows do we have left? Have we got enough? Do you think they're shooting too fast? These are the intimate little bit of detail and the little stories within. As I'm making it up, you know, as I'm doing this, these two chaps are discussing how many arrows the bowmen have shot. This is how I suppose my mind works. So let me just put these away. Now the siege engines, these are whiz kids. They're slightly out of scale, but they're great. They're static, they don't work, but they're great for the model. And then the way I've arranged it, you've got a group of crossbowmen moving up. A lot of people don't realise that the English had crossbowmen. Then all of your different gun crews, bowmen here behind their own mantlets, their little shields, preparing to shoot. So let's get the bowmen. They live in their own special box. Now what I do, if I can't get them to stand, I use a little bit of hot melt from a glue gun. So he's got to stand, so he's fine, but he hasn't. But he's nicely done. Just peel him back. Another one, yeah, and another one there. Using that little bit of a hot melt, and it works perfectly. Some of the guns, I've got one here. It's a white metal model, and it's got its own shield, its mantlet. You know, they pull it up, it fires, it goes down, and there's the basic model. Let's just bring another gun to show you. This is a smaller piece, but these are expensive, and to buy lots and lots just for one or two models, it's a bit prohibitive. So what I did was I saved tiny cardboard tubes. I was able to then just mount them, and what I'll do is I shall reuse all of these things. I'll probably add a couple of guns each time as I go, so that come the War of the Roses, we're really in business. I'm just going to put this stuff away, and we'll move on to the actual main defense, and you can see what I've done. So the main surface I've used is just a roll of grass matting, but then I use grass scatter, or that kind of thing that I have, to cover up some of the bases. Now these forward defenses here, it's important that they're solid, because during filming it can actually get knocked about. So there you have it. And I made this just out of craft wood that I bought from a hobby shop, almost lollipop stick sized. You see there's a plank there broken off one of them, so anything like that I'll just leave it as debris. Now this one is falling apart, but I shall keep all of the planks, because in the future it will go back together again, or it'll become something else. Knowing me, it'll become something else. So all of these pieces are lifted. Now this gun position here, it's straightforward. I've used the lollipop sticks to make the shield, and just very small bits of hobby timber, very lightweight, so that it swivels, and then you just spray it and it's done. It can go into the line. Now as you come forward, there's actually a join where the surface of this joins the bank of the ditch. So what I do is I'll peg it down, and then I will use all of the foliage here to cover up all of the gaps, and of course scatter. This scatter, it covers a multitude of sins. Wherever there's a join and you can't cover it up, use a bit of foliage, but make sure when you've finished your model that you collect it all together. This stuff is expensive. And also little bits of hurdles and things that I put in the ditch to give it that, oh, there's a dead horse with an arrow in it. How unusual. So that's the ditch pretty much. Oh no, I've got a couple of bits of timber in. So it's everything in the ditch now is taken out. I'm going to look at recovering the dead, and then you will see how I collapse this part of the model. I've got more wounded and escapees trying to get back across the bridge from one of their sorties. So I'm just going to put them all together. Then I've got all of my figures off the model. So there they are. I sometimes think, you know, you look at models of like a battlefield, there are no dead. Some of these are metal figures. Some of them are straightforward Perry miniatures types, or some that I've cut down or adapted so that I can use them as dead men. Now, something I've learned the hard way is I brush everything up and save it for next time. So I'm going to get rid of all of this lichen, as some people call it. I've heard it called lichen. I just call it lichen or undergrowth. Has its own box to live in. This is just the stuff that you buy from your tray set shop. But now I'll make sure the cheapest paintbrush I can find, and I will brush everything I possibly can. Now what this does is it mixes an awful lot of it together. So I will end up with some natural texture, so it won't just be like green grass, it'll be all kinds of stuff mixed together. So I'll do that all the way over, and then I will separate the two bits. Now, if you can, when you put the grass down, don't nail it down. Try and just fix it with enough glue that you can lift it, so that when you're stripping this down, you can save all of your scatter, but also you can save yourself a nice piece of ground cover, even if later on you just literally carve it up, but you've saved it. And then make sure you have a nice big jar for your mix. That's pretty much served its purpose for this one, and I'll just roll it up and put it away with all of the other stuff. And then you can see that underneath, this is just what they call foam board, and it's perfect for part of your base. So I'm going to have to now tidy this all up, and I'm going to remove part of it so I can get to the castle. So bear with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brush everything into the ditch now, into the defensive ditch, all of the scatter and all of that kind of stuff. And now I'm going to separate the two parts. I think this is just short of a half of the diorama, and that way I can then get to the castle and show you how I built that. So you'll see now, this is all made of different styrofoam pieces, so I've saved from little bits of previous models. So let's just move him on. There we go. So that's him. Now I'm going to empty the ditch. There's always going to be spillage. You're always going to lose some of it onto the carpet or onto the floor. But I do my best. When I design, I make sure there's a bit of an outlet so that I can hold my jar under there, and hopefully I can save most of this. Right, I think that'll do for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the model forward so we can collapse the model of the castle. It's a temporary model. There's no real heavy hard wood or hardboard or timber in this. It is all, you know, a bit of a trick, I suppose, card and styrofoam and that. So let's just bring him out a little bit, bring him along. There we have it. Now I'm just going to take the castle apart, just put it over here. There's the entrance to the gatehouse, the drawbridge here. There he comes. All these pieces will be reused, believe you me. So this main gatehouse and the walls are simply pieces placed together. So let's move the towers. So I'm just going to move the gatehouse out the way, and you'll see there are troops inside. So if we filmed over the top of the battlements, you would have seen different roofings. You'd have seen the monks all at prayer and the cathedral there. And I've just given the illusion, I suppose you'd call it, of buildings. These just very, very cheap bits of wood that I put together, paper roof, just to give the effect that there are more buildings in there. They don't need to be in detail, but I have used as the principle this model of the cathedral that I have, which was all part of the Lindisfarne model that I did a while ago. Now I'm just going to go and fetch some stuff to show you what the castle is actually made from and how I made it, but I need to put these billmen away. The way I made the castle was I used a Metcalfe castle kit. These are just fantastic, but they're made for a train set, HOO scale. So let me just show. This is one of their towers. It's got doors, windows. They are really fantastic, but as you can see, they're not 28mm and they're not big enough to make the Siege of Rouen. You look at a castle wall, it's the castle walls. So what I did was, when it come to making the bridge, I took sections of castle wall, put them all together, then I cut the arches in and I joined the two together. And now I've managed to tear it, so I'll have to replace part of the walls. And the way I do that is you buy, or you can print, extra brickwork. So anything that's damaged, I will repair all of this and use it again. This is my big thing. Now I'm going to show you my battlements. So inside is the original castle that I bought from Metcalfe, and then I've reinforced it, made it 28mm, and to cover up the very small battlements I've done your hoardings, and all the hoardings are is printed card for the roof and a little bit of imagination to make the matriculations. So it's all just paper and card. Now when it came to the towers, I had to make these from scratch. So any of this that comes by post, don't throw it away. So I've cut it into sections, glued the brickwork around it, made the gum ports, made the matriculations, but the roof was a poser. So bit of printed paper, put them on top, and once they're set with the glue, paint them and let them dry. Well, this one's a small gatehouse because what I did was I made an arch from a giant arch. That's all set in. You can see it's reinforced at the back. You don't see the back, so that doesn't really matter. But the giant gatehouse was going to be a problem. And if you look behind, it's all reinforced, but you can see the size of the original gatehouse. So I've had to add some height and then the round towers on each side with the drawbridge. And if I just lift the drawbridge up, you can see behind the scenes. But the whole thing works, and then you can have some fun. The hanging of the bowmen. Now these I will keep. And because this is only paper, I can either replace it, reuse it, or even put some reinforcements through it. These guys I shall put with the other wounded men. They will not be hanged in vain. So when it comes to the water effects, when I first started, I just used to paint the card with a bit of gloss paint. But now I've learned a little bit. This is just card, and I've painted the colour that I want the water, and I've swirled it around a little bit. Then I've used the water effects. These are woodland scenics. It's quite expensive, so you use it sparingly and brush it. And once you've done that, you can see that you have pretty much a water effect. If you wanted to make rapids or, you know, swirl it around a little bit, you can layer this, and you can add a different mixture as well, which gives you the waves. There's another trick. This is if you lay it on, and before it dries, use a hairdryer to blow it, and then you have the waves. I did that with one of my Viking sets. But all I've got to do now is brush all of the scatter off the edges here. Some of it will have stuck because I used a bit of glue to get it to stick to the riverbank. I'll get all of that off, put it into its boxes, and strip the rest of it down. And Bob's your uncle, as we used to say. I will have saved most of the materials in the model. So that's how Kev makes his models you've now seen, and I hope I haven't burst a bubble. It's just some of the tricks of my little trade. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. It's a little bit different to our normal history videos, but if you did enjoy it, like, share and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel further, why not have a look at joining our Patreon community? The link, it's in the description. Now, before I go any further, I've got a shout out for some of my Patreon members. So here we go. Thanks, guys, to Quothnor, Jordan Foster, and Clan Begley. Thanks, guys. Thanks a million. Bye for now.